Hey everyone, welcome to BrickVault. Today we're taking a look at the Naboo N-1 Starfighter designed by the talented builder Intert. And this is one of the most beautiful and sleek LEGO ship designs that I think I've ever seen. The Naboo Starfighter first made it onto the screen in Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, and despite what maybe some fans might think or say about the movie, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they didn't like the look of this ship. It's small, fast, moves through the air like a dart, looks like sort of a sports car more than a fighter, yet it still could hold its own pretty well in a battle. And before I go any further into this video, I will say yes, the instructions are available at our web store, www.brickvault.toys. It does help support us at the channel, as well as the designers that go into making these incredible MOCs. Every build comes with a PDF file, step-by-step instructions for easy building, as well as an XML parts file, which makes it very quick to order all the pieces that you need. All right, links in the description below. Now back to the MOC. Immediately, what stands out as this ship's strong point is definitely the sleek, studless look that the designer managed to put together, especially when looking at the lines that match up around the hull and kind of fade into the tail. That 1x3x2 yellow arched U's behind the cockpit, I think, is really the part that stands out the most for me when comparing it next to a picture of the Naboo Starfighter itself and then other subsequent MOCs or LEGO designs of this ship. Nobody else comes nearly as close as capturing the overall shape and proportions as well as Intert. Now, when it comes to proportions, I would say that's just as important as getting the size right for a ship, and I don't know if the designer really could have done much better. The size of the wings, body, and tail really do match up quite well when comparing it to a Naboo Starfighter within universe, with the exception of the engines being slightly large in diameter. Reality is we just don't get a LEGO piece that is sleek and smooth and cylindrical at the proper size, which is what caused the LEGO sets themselves to be quite large, very much bigger than what we could get for minifig scale. So what we have here is a model that treads the line as close as you could get between being incredibly accurate and beautiful looking while maintaining proportions and being as small as it could be to minifig scale. So as you see the other ships flash by the screen, in reality it should be maybe a little bit smaller compared to some of these guys, but it is pretty cool to see this thing next to some of the Imperial Walkers, and this gives you a pretty good idea as to how big the Naboo Starfighter would be if it was sitting on top of the Millennium Falcon. Now let's take a closer look at the Starfighter. There's a few details here that I think are still worth pointing out that absolutely capture sort of the vibe of this ship. If you look at the life-size model that was actually built for the movie, when it comes to the wings in the front with that great sort of chromed look, they are meant to cut through the air like a knife. It looks like the wing itself can actually cut you if you were to run your finger along the edge of the blade, and the designer here has a wonderful technique by using a tile and a clip to kind of just bring that edge of the wing ever so slightly forward and pretty much make this area as thin as possible. Moving back, we have a really impressive build that makes up the cockpit. There's a few things I like about this build. First of all, it's very easy to get this minifigure in and out, which is often not the case with hyper accurate models such as this. The figure itself doesn't actually stud in. You can just put him in a sitting position and he plops right down, and the cockpit windscreen seals closed in an almost perfect manner, lining up with those slope pieces that have sort of been turned on their sides. In general, the interior for the cockpit just looks extremely solid, and this was a really good bit of detailing to pay attention to, especially for a MOC like this, which has so much of the pilot and the cockpit exposed to the outside at all times. When it comes to the back, you can see that one wing piece that is molded in a slightly different yellow because it just doesn't exist in the proper yellow that we're looking for, but the added benefit of that smooth sort of angle that comes down on both sides really ties that sort of sloping, pointy look together for the back of the ship. And there are some very interesting connection points along the way, not just here, but also along the internal structure of the ship. This really is a complex build, and I'll say right now that this is absolutely an expert level MOC. Out of all the MOCs that are currently listed up in the web store, I would say this is among the most difficult to put together, but when you see the end result of the ship, it is absolutely worth it. Now, I have been pointing out sort of the sleekness and the details of the ship. I haven't shown off a lot of the underside or the hull, but the build at the bottom here is just as impressive, if not more so, than the details we see on the top. I couldn't tell you how many subtle and delicate little connections we have on the inside in order to create such a smooth underbelly. That modified plate with the angular flexible extension at the end really ties the whole look together. And even the stand was designed in a way to kind of make sure that people could see this model from underneath even when it's resting, because it's a design that needs to be appreciated from all angles, not just front, back, but definitely above and below. Now, some of you might be wondering or understand that sort of the natural rule of a ship that looks really, really good, or a design that looks really, really sleek and awesome in LEGO often doesn't have quite as much structural stability. And I'll say that the body of the ship is solid. You can see me handling it and sort of turning it from one way to another, but I'm also holding it from a few very specific points. As you can imagine, anything that gets very small and thin isn't particularly strong, and in order to keep those wings nice and thin and smooth and sleek, the connection points around the engines can't withstand a ton of pressure. Now, that being said, once you understand sort of the pressure points, so to speak, of this model, it's not entirely unswooshable. Now, I'd say this model sticks out quite a lot compared to a lot of the other Star Wars fighters that we've got right now, because it really did come from a different age when things were sort of shinier and smoother and they felt a little bit more technologically advanced even. And the reality is that this LEGO design truly reflects how it should be looking within the universe, and because of that, it kind of pops like a sharp little gem compared to the other original trilogy Star Wars ships. So just a quick reminder, the instructions once again are available at our web store, www.brickvault.toys. As always, let us know in the comment section below what kinds of designs you'd like to see us working on for the future. And if you enjoyed the video or like the stuff that we're trying to do on this channel, you can always like or subscribe. That's it for this episode. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.